Welcome in, everybody. It is Tuesday night on the Fantasy Cheatsheet presented by Going for Two Live on YouTube, Twitch. Go like, subscribe, comment, share it, get it out there tonight. It's almost football season. Football is around the corner. Training camp's open, which means we are talking about training camp paddles. But before that, here is the intro.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday night. You know it's Fantasy Cheat Sheet. Let me bring in the boys, Jamie and Reg. What is up, my guys?
Oh, man, just excited for the Scott Fish Bowl to start. I'm already in the fourth round of my draft, and I'm actually on the clock, so
we'll talk about that. I'll bring that up quickly in a second. But, Jamie, besides that, are you ready for training camp?
I am. Let's get some answers going.
Exactly. We will talk answers in a little bit. But, Reggie, what is up, my dude from California? My other man from Cali, what's going on, dude?
It was a good holiday weekend, and Yanin already brought tears to my eyes because of Scott Fish. I love everything Scott Fish does, and I think I'm blacklisted. I'm seeing people being in it multiple times. I've been trying for like 7 years, and boo-hoo.
We'll get you in next year.
Yes.
Speaking of Scott Fishbowl, really quick, Scott Fishbowl slow draft started yesterday. Jamie is in his fourth round. We've been talking about, me and Jamie have been talking SFB the last 48 hours straight. Jamie's in his fourth round. I'm in the fifth round started, so I got about 7 or 8 picks. Jamie, what was your first 2 picks, and how was your board? How was the board? How was your league's board in the first round? Because the first round, second rounds are so different in every fishbowl.
Yeah, I didn't know. I had the fourth pick. I ended up going Lamar. And my second pick, I went Travis Kelce. So I got 2 pretty much top of their positions. The first round, the first half went like almost all quarterbacks. And then, let's see, when it got to pick 7, it was just a mix of like CeeDee Lamb, Bijan, Hill, Breece Hall, Jefferson. Like those all went right in a row.
All right. So, like I said, every draft is different. I drafted from the 5 spot, and I also got Lamar Jackson. First pick in my draft was CMC. Then it went quarterback. It went Jalen Hurts. Or not. Oh, there was a gap. That's how I got Lamar. It went Josh Allen and Jalen at 2-3. Fourth overall was Mr. CeeDee Lamb, which made me went like me and you talked about on Sunday's show, Jamie. As soon as I saw that I was able to get Lamar, there was no questions about it. I wasn't thinking twice. Lamar was my guy. What was funny was the guy that me and you talked about with Kyle about maybe going higher than normal to get if Lamar's gone, AR-15, went directly after me at 6. So it proved to me that my thinking was correct. But this is what I found funny, and I'm going to bring it up real quick. And I kind of brought it up to you, Jamie, but I don't expect you to remember everything we brought up because we talked a lot about the fishbowl. So I went Lamar at 5. Richardson went 6. Mahomes went 7. And then after that, the next 5 picks in the first round, no more quarterbacks taken. So only 5 QBs in the first round because the end of the first round was Tyreek Hill at 8, Justin Jefferson at 9, and then 10 and 11 and 12 is what surprised me because it went 3 RBs in a row to end the round. So I had 4 RBs in the first round. It went Bijan at 10, Breece at 11, and JT at 12. And then there was, I'm not going to go through the whole second round, but then there was 4 tight ends taken in the second round in total. But The one thing that I brought up, Jamie, multiple times with you and on air on Sunday, is it was going to be very hard for me if a certain Russian quarterback fell to 208 with the third round reversal not being able to, because I was going to have to wait another round and a half to get a full round and a half because of the third round reversal, because I was going to have to wait the 5 picks at the end and then wait for the other 8, not shorter. With the Russian quarterback upside in this league, I said that if a certain Russian quarterback fell to me at 2, no matter who was on the board, it was going to be hard for me not to pull the trigger. I saw this guy go 10 overall. I saw him go 12 overall. Kyler Murray fell to me at 208 in a Russian quarterback format like this.
That's insane.
Even with guys on the board like, so right before me, the picks right before me were Travis Kelce and Trey McBride, Garrett Wilson. So I passed up A.J. Brown. I passed up the stack with Mark Andrews. And I took Kyler Murray. C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray, and Dak Prescott were the only quarterbacks in the second round. But more importantly, Jamie, I was the only one that went QB. I was shocked that I was the only one to go QB.
And I think you got a good advantage there getting those 2.
Yeah, and then I came back. Yeah, so that's that. So I like the value that I got Kyler. The other one that I will point out just for reference sake, and in case he is in the chat or listening, because I know he's usually in chats like you are, take a guess where Joe Burrow went. Because Kyle was interested in, because remember how we were talking about like the value of Joe Burrow?
Yeah, where did he go? Like end of the third?
He went 302 to the Chase owner.
Okay.
To the Chase owner.
Oh, wow.
Chase went at 202, and then the Burrow owner was able to snag him at 302 with the third round reversal. Jordan Love went before him at 301, but I am okay with it because I am in the Rudy Rudiger division, which from the movie Rudy, Notre Dame, Indiana, there's 4 Packers fans in my division. So I know that if I want any Packers, I'm going to have to pay up, so I won't have any Packers on my team. However, I knew one of them was going to pay up to get Jordan Love coming, especially because you figure if he's at 301, he's going to have to wait 24 more picks. Jordan Love's not going to get by 3 other owners twice.
Yeah, no, Jordan Love went middle of the second round in mine.
Yeah, so just every round. I mean, did you see that Rashid Shaheed went 112?
Yeah, I saw that. That's insane.
112. 112.
If he doesn't return punts, that
It's
dude's
over.
going to look like a fool.
But all right, so let's get into the show. Oh, Reggie, do you have any questions about it? Because you look not
it'll probably be
perplexed,
after
but you
show.
look okay.
If your Scott Fish is on sleeper,
Yeah, it is.
can you share me your drafts? I have
I can do that.
a copycat coming up Sunday, and it's a fast draft. I've been doing it 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I can.
Scott Fish might be why I'm blacklisted, but Scott Fish, I've talked to him about it, rules and settings, and we have a bunch of fun with it. It's only 12 teams, and I have to win 12.
Okay,
I think the reason why Kyler's going so late and Love is because he devalued the QB position. That's fake news. You still need 2 QBs.
Oh, no, but he devalued it, but not for a rushing QB. I think people are going to overvalue. I think people are going to go, oh, no, I need when they only have 1 and then the run starts going, they're going to go, I need to fill that position. They're going to fill it with, say, a Rodgers, a Carr, where I told myself from the jump, if I can get 2 rushing QBs and just call it a day, I'm done. I don't need to worry about it. There's a sneaky quarterback that we will actually discuss on the show tonight, foreshadowing, that I am looking for as my QB3. Jamie already knows who it is, but we will get to that later. Speaking of the show, there's not a lot of news, so we're just going to get into it. We are talking training camp battles. We're talking situations in camp. running back battles for one, running back two, wide receiver battles. We might, if you're lucky, we might even get down to a wide receiver 3 battle that I have been excited about since the minute a certain wide receiver was drafted in May or April, whatever it was. Jamie knows I love this guy. I've made graphics about him twice. Even if I didn't even post the graphics, I just wanted to make the graphics of a certain wide receiver from a certain city in Jamie's state. There's your hint, everybody. So let's get right into it. Jamie, cover. I'm gonna tee you up perfectly. One of the 2 cover boy athletes, Minshew Mania, is now a Las Vegas Raider. But let me know why he might not be the QB1.
Yeah, this is going to be very intriguing. I don't think we're going to know anytime soon who the starter is going to be, like right up until week 1. But Minshew, he brings that the experience to the table, and O'Connell, he brings that young upside. So given O'Connell's familiar with the offense, I could see them starting him week 1. They might make a switch sometime during the season, but I don't think Minshew is going to be the guy like other people are saying. And that's why I got rid of Minshew in a couple leagues. I sold him for second round picks in the rookie draft. I don't want anything to do with them. I'm not drafting them in redraft. And I did notice the Raiders, they're going to be focusing more on the intermediate passing game. And Minshew ranks 32nd overall in that, and O'Connell ranks 20th overall in the intermediate passes. So if they're going to focus more in that area, they're going to be better off starting O'Connell. What do you guys think?
All right, Reggie, you take this one because I have I'm taking my answer a different direction.
I think the quarterback of the future is not on the Raiders roster right now. I lean more Minshew because he's like a culture. Vulture is not the right thing to say, but I think he can run the offense necessary to prep O'Connell. O'Connell can sit back. O'Connell can learn what it's like to be a pro. We've all heard Minshew drives around in a 1982 van. He, the jorts or whatever, the shorts, just embodying that and making that not the face of your franchise, but showing someone else those qualities. And he can run an offense, not to the best of production, but let O'Connell sit until it's evidence that he needs to be starting. They paid him good money, and I think it would be better for O'Connell to not win the job. Is it a true count battle? Do they both have a shot at winning the job is the question. And I think Jamie point of taking O'Connell is because he has a shot to win it and should probably be the starter. But I think he's being prepped to possibly be a career backup. I looked at the game when they scored 63 points. Look at O'Connell's contribution to that. And it's very shocking. They scored 63 points, and look what his contribution to that performance was.
All right, so I'm going to go at this 2 different ways, but I do have a comment about what you brought up about Minshew driving around in an 82-4. So what you're telling me is, Reggie, that when he's in Las Vegas, he's probably actually the type of guy he is. He's hanging out down by stratosphere. He's not allowed to be up by the top. He's not allowed up by the Mandalay Bay and MGM. He's got to stay down by Circus and the freaking stratosphere and off. The slots of fun. That's where he hangs out with his van, right? So I'm going to put yes. So I'm going to put it 2 ways. I absolutely do believe this is a battle. My first argument, and the reason why I do think it is a battle, isn't due to Minshew talent. isn't due to the promise. And yes, I think O'Connell's going to be a career backup, and he would be a decent career backup. And Minshew's the perfect person to show him that, because that's what Minshew, the arc. It's just he has the charisma. But it has nothing to do with O'Connell's talent. It has nothing to do with the lack of talent of O'Connell. It has nothing to do with the talent of Minshew. It has to do with Antonio freaking Pierce. And the reason I bring that up is we know he's going to run the ball, but more importantly, he's got to put his stamp on this team, and it's got to be his, even though they brought in the pieces. If he sees that his stamp on the team is, hey, Minshew, you're not hacking it in camp, he's going to pull the plug. Same with O'Connell. He's going to do whatever it needs to make that team stick together, because he needs to prove. Remember last time that the Raiders fired a coach, put in an interim, was the special coordinator. I can't think of his name, but they didn't hire him back. Max Crosby was pissed. There was other people on the team that were mad. They didn't bring him back. They did the same thing with, that was after Gruden got let go, after all the drama.
Yeah, the special teams coach.
Yeah, the special. I just can't think of his name.
I can't either, but I know
he did go. He went to Green Bay after. He went, so they went, did the same thing, fired Josh McDaniels. Thank God he does not belong in a head coaching job. So that's why I think there is going to be a battle. Minshew is going to win. I know I'm getting a little long-winded. Jamie, I hit you up last week, and I said, hey, I am in a super flex. I'm in a league that is going from one quarterback to two quarterback, and we're doing it in a dispersal so we don't have to wait 2 years to move to the SF, right?
Yep.
I was on the clock. It was a snake draft. We kept one quarterback on our roster, put everyone back in the pot, and did a 2-round dispersal. So I was at the 9 spot, so I didn't get the greatest pick of everyone. I kept Mahomes, thank goodness, so I had someone to keep. Came back, I kept Watson, but on the snake, so like the 16th, 17th overall pick, and a dispersal, I'm looking at who to draft, and the one staring at me is Gardner.
Yeah.
I drafted him for 2 reasons. One, short term, first part of the year, if he wins it, when he wins the job, he will be able to be a backup for Watson and Mahomes if something does happen. But Jamie, like you have brought up in the past about taking, it's not about the player, it's about the ADP and about the value.
Yep.
Even if O'Connell is going to play at some point, what I am hoping I can do is wait for a 2-week stretch that Minshew goes for 5 touchdowns and 450 yards in 2 weeks, or 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in the 2-week span, and then sell them before that week that he face plants, and then get like you said, get picks for him, get a second or something for 2025.
Smart.
Reggie?
I live in Oakland. For those who are watching Going for Two, and they have a place in my heart. And I think because of the offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, came over for the Bears.
Yes.
The better quarterback for the Raiders this year is Minshew. That man does not get another opportunity to ruin another young quarterback.
No.
So Jamie, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't want a Gentry. Like, give him a vet.
No, but like you said, I 100% agree with you that I don't even think it's ruining a youngster. I don't think he's a youngster you can ruin. I just don't think he's the dude. The QB is not on this roster. This is to get this team to the next step. This is more about the rest of the team and getting them to that step, in my opinion.
Well said.
Speaking of the next step, speaking of new head coaches, New England Patriots has brought in a new head coach. There's plenty of camp battles because everyone is trying to win a job. What position and what do you have to say? Because I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot to say about your take.
Well, we're going to start off in New England. And those, I just spoke up the Raiders. Everyone knows my heart is with the Dolphins. So I hate the Patriots. And to start drafting season, there was one wide receiver in this group that I just had a love for. And just recently, from looking at projections, something I've never do. I know going for two has projections. I seen someone I respect projections, and I could not disagree with them even more with the Patriots. And once I looked at them, and I know they have a brilliant brain. I don't know if I want to give credit to this person. Everybody here knows it, and I think it's okay. I checked Matt Waltman's projections.
Yep.
And after I disagreed with them, I looked at them and I thought, would I be surprised if this was true? And we may all have that come to Jesus moment, if we can say that. Let me list the wide receivers on the Patriots, just so everybody can remember. There's Juju, there's Keldrick Bourne, there's KJ Osborne, there's Javon Baker, Jalen Pope, and Demario Douglas. And I may have missed Tyler Thornton.
Yeah.
Anybody else that I'm forgetting?
I think that's it.
That's it. But yeah.
It's gross, right? The problem I have, and I want to root wide receiver 1 for the Patriots as Jalen Polk. And I am an opportunist. I'm not in love with his price. I'm in love with the talent. But when I really think about it, just from seeing those projections, I can see Juju leading the team with targets if he makes the team. I have to think in drafting this season for the Patriots if I'm in win now. And the player that I think is going to walk away, and I know I'm going to get some slack for this, but I'm only grabbing a wide receiver off the Patriots. Now, I have not always felt this way, and the wide receiver 1 will be in half PPR, and that's going to be KJ Osborne. Don't throw nothing. No tomatoes. Don't keep your feet on the ground. Don't kick me.
That's not where you're getting. That's not where the tomatoes are coming. Don't worry.
I'll finish up real quick. I just see him leading the team in touchdowns. I also see a logjam like last year on the Giants. Hopefully they're not on the show sheet where they had a lot of the people that does the same things with the same body. That's not happening. Same profile. Excuse me. That's not happening here. But we got several wide receivers that play the slot productively, or when they have been productive. So I love Polk. I prefer Demario Douglas, but I think I want KJ Osborne on my fantasy team at the price. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I know we're talking about wide receiver battles, and I'm sorry, but I'm in several leagues. So I'll put a poll out there. Who would they want me to talk about? And this is one of the subjects.
No, so I'm gonna throw a question back at you to tie everything in, and then I'll give it to Jamie. What would it take, in your opinion, in camp and in preseason, for it to be Pop, Douglas, or Polk over KJ? I get with what you're saying is I don't think KJ is going to be the WR1 on the team. I know that's not what you're saying. You're saying that ADP, the one you're willing to take is. But to throw it back because you brought up Juju, what would it take in camp for Pop or Polk to be the number 1? Because this is where you're going to get tomatoes thrown on you.
Okay, so
Juju
I
is
think
going to be the worst.
Cut gone.
Juju is done. Juju is going to be the worst player on this team.
Yeah, I agree. But they like him. I think the locker room likes him. Like, I don't.
Yeah, because he makes TikToks.
Yeah, does he anymore? I gotta follow because I remember I thought he matured and he has a degenerative knee. I should probably say allegedly. Like there's knee treatments happening back since Kansas City. So will he last?
He's from Long Beach, Reggie. That's all I have to say.
So for me, I want to like Demario Douglas, but he shares a position. I need to see what their personnel is going to be like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what will it take? What will it take for Pop to do in camp? Will it just be to
doing it?
Just doing it. That's my point.
From what I hear, he's the one. I just don't. I can see 50 catches and 600 yards being a true thing. 2 touchdowns. So I'm trying to take the optimistic and be realistic. Yeah. He's the most exciting. They need to get him the most snaps out of anybody else on their team. Will they? Yeah. And I think they could be tanking for Luther.
All right, Jamie, I'm going to throw a question at you. Yeah. I already know. I think I know where this is going. Just talking about camp battles, talking about WR1, whatever. What is it going to take in camp because he brought up a guy that he loves, and I know me and you are on the other side of the fence on this. Is there a way, and how would it work, and do you think it'll happen? I personally think for year one, like for Dynasty, Polk, yes, whatever. Like, I'm not disagreeing. Year one, Javon Baker over Polk. What do you think about that situation, Jamie? Because I know you've had thoughts about Baker coming into the draft.
Yeah. Long term, I like Baker over Polk. I don't know about this year, though. Baker's just too inconsistent right now. He needs to kind of take a step up, get familiar with the speed of the NFL, and then maybe like a year or two from now, I see him and Polk coexisting as the like 1A, 1B type.
Okay. That's fine. I just want to make sure that we covered all the bases on the Patriots because for everyone that just to show a little behind the scenes, me and Reggie were going over this to make sure that I got what we needed for the show, but also got what Reggie wanted out. So I wanted to make sure that we did that for you, Reggie. So
Thank you so much. I'll
next
get better. I
Oh
promise.
no, you're good. Don't worry about it. My first topic, I brought up Scott Fishbowl. I brought up a quarterback 3 situation in Scott Fish. He has the upside to be a rushing quarterback. However, he is also on thin ice with his team. He's not an underrated quarterback. He's an underrated rushing quarterback. He can get you yards when he needs to. Reggie just realized who I was talking about. Daniel Jones versus Drew Lock. So, I have never been a Daniel Jones guy. Here's the problem. I've always been a Drew Lock guy. I said when Drew Lock got traded to Seattle that Drew Lock was going to beat Geno Smith out.
I thought that too.
Going into this offseason, I said it was 40 to 60%. I still think there's going to be a true battle in camp. Going into the offseason, I said one of my takes, and I'm not going to say bold takes because that's saved for a certain day and a certain Tuesday, right, Jamie?
Yep.
So I'm not going to say bold take, but one of my takes was that it's actually a 40-60% chance Jones over Lock. I thought Lock was I still have a chance in my brain that Lock is going to win the battle in camp. Jamie, I've switched my tune. And it's nothing that Lock has done wrong. And that's the problem. Lock hasn't done anything wrong, but guess what? Daniel Jones hasn't done anything right either. Have either one of you watched last week's first episode of HBO Max Hard Knocks Giants preseason? So
I watched one episode, and I
there's only
felt
been one
different before I watched it.
So so here's why. It was one comment when they were talking about Saquon Barkley that they made that made me realize how the GM truly feels about Daniel Jones no matter what he does. He could fall down on his face in camp. When you sit there, Jamie, and out loud on camera, knowing you're being filmed, when they're talking about how much to pay Saquon Barkley and they bring up the number $12 million, he says, I don't know if we can pay Saquon $12 million. We can't hand the ball off to a $12 million running back from when we're paying that quarterback $40 million, which proves to me if they're not willing to pay Saquon $12 million because they're paying Daniel Jones 40, they're not willing to give Drew Lock a freaking fair shot.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's also one reason I want Daniel Jones as my QB3 and Scott Fish because I think I can get him late. And I think he's got the job locked unless he goes out and throws 4 interceptions, 3 interceptions. But I will say this. I will say this. Yeah, he's got the lock on the job. But I will say this. After week 13, that hands are free. If they're 4-9, because I think they could still be 1, 2, or 3 worst in the league. If they're 3-12 or like 3-10 after 13 weeks, who knows? They could put lock in, and I'd be perfectly fine for it.
Yeah.
But for the main part of the season, Daniel Jones, I think, is going to win this. But I do think it's a battle. But I'm afraid that no matter what he does in the battle, and I'm interested to see about tonight's episode because there's a couple things I heard that could happen tonight. Jamie, what do you think about Drew Lock versus Daniel Jones real quick, and then we'll give it to Reg and then throw it back.
Yeah, I mean, they're close enough in talent to where it definitely will be a battle. But I do like to point out that later in the season, like you said, if they are on a losing streak or only wins 3-4 games, they're better off starting Lock in that situation because Daniel Jones has that injury clause in his contract. So if he gets hurt, he's guaranteed all that money.
Could we see – okay, so you make a very valid point. Reggie, could we see a situation like the Raiders where in week 15, Daniel Jones just literally steps away from the team? Like Carr did?
No, well, I know there was a car incident. There was a Russell Wilson where the guaranteed money is, and they tried that stuff like to protect them. But you nailed everything because I'm getting all the locks I can, and then training camp come out, and I watched that episode, and when the owner talked, he had his hands in his pocket, and he was looking at the ground. If I'm thinking about the right scene, and that wasn't for stage. That was not for show. Like hands in his pockets, hands down, and he made those statements. This is Daniel Jones, Will Levis year. Show us what the freak you got, or we'll move on after this. It seems like they are, and it seems like they didn't want to get rid of Saquon. Like they really do care. I don't know if that's for show.
What I've heard is I don't know if we're wrong or right, but from what I've been told, that whatever that verdict is, shows tonight.
Okay, cool. Well, he had his hands in his pocket and he was looking at the ground. You can't fake that. That was like really like body language telling you how that man felt about money, about the players. That's what's making me want to watch more.
Yeah.
Thanks. You nailed it.
All right, I'm going to throw it back to you, Jamie, in one quick second, but I'm going to put this comment up and I'm going to ask you guys a question. One word answer, please, so we can just go real quick. I'm going to make a question off of this comment. Stevenson is a great RB3 option. I think we all agree with that. Yes or no? Could he actually be an RB2 on the fantasy team?
100% yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
They just don't pay running backs.
I think he's an RB2 in fantasy, not an RB3. Okay, Jamie, let me throw this up here so I can tee you up. Oh, this one. Yeah, yay! So, for the past 3 years, I have been roasting a certain wide receiver because the only reason he got paid from his old team is because he, 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns against a horrible, disgustingly bad defense at the time. Bend, don't break, shatter. What was the other words I used? Dumpster fire of a defense in the Kansas City Chiefs. And that would be Gabe Davis. Now he is no longer a member of the Buffalo Bills. He is in Jacksonville. Jamie, what do you think about Gabe? But who are you comparing him to for their camp battle?
I think Gabe is trash. I only liked him for 1 week last year. Then I started hating him again. But besides that, Brian Thomas Jr., they drafted him extremely high in the draft. I wouldn't really call this a competition, but they are going to compete for that number 2 wide receiver spot. I could see Gabe maybe getting a little bit more work just because he's that veteran presence. And Brian Thomas is going to have to get to know that offense a little bit in the beginning of the season. Yep. But what I want to bring up is there's 200 vacated targets that Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley left. So between those two receivers, there's going to be around 200 targets for them. I think last year there was like 135 to Ridley, like 65 to Zay. I don't think it's going to be that far off. Because I think Gabe had 80 to 90 his past 2 years, and in college, Thomas had like about 90 targets. So I think it's going to be closer than people think, but Thomas is definitely going to be able to do more with his targets just because he's that much better of a receiver.
All right, Reggie.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have for
It sounds gross.
In redraft?
Oh, in redraft.
Mm-hmm.
Still Gabe Davis. Maybe even Dynasty. I watched a lot of BTJ film. I watched a lot because of those touchdowns. And
hold on 1 second. Are we sure we want him back on the? Are we sure we want him back? Are you sure we want him back?
Yeah, let's.
Let me ask you guys a question, right? Like, I can say why I'm off of BTJ. I can tell you the game. I can tell you the film. But I think he validated himself because he was playing with a rotator cuff, some shoulder injury most of last year. But his blocking was horrific. There was one play.
It was. Don't worry. Oh, it was. I watched. Yeah. So Jamie knows what I do for tape now, and Jamie knows how much of a degenerate I am now. I know exactly what game you're talking about.
Was it the running back tore his ACL because he missed his block, and the running back had a touchdown and tried to? Yeah. I used to coach that. You know what I'm talking about. It was a couple other things. That was the one.
And then there was the other game where he just kept dropping shit. But he likes to basket catch. He likes to catch it with the body. I think that can get worked on. I will agree with
the injury is what I saw and not effort.
Yeah.
But with Gabe, I got a question for both you guys. What round would it take for you to draft Gabe Davis in a 2 QB startup?
Startup?
Yeah. I don't think I would draft him.
I just let him pass me in the 16th round. I took Ray Davis 5 picks earlier.
I'm taking Ray Davis over Gabe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It just doesn't seem like a smart move.
I'm taking Ray over
16th round?
There could be some value there.
Maybe. Right. Thank you. I just had to ask.
There could be value, but I mean, if he comes back, but the problem that I have with Gabe is he could be those ones that there is no steady decline. I just have a feeling that he's going to be one of those guys that's just going to decline, like jump off a cliff decline.
How can he decline? What has he done? He's really good for football, so he's going to get on the field. He blocks football.
I'm saying his fantasy value, it's low, but I'm saying it could go bye-bye. Like I'm talking droppable on Dynasty. Like I think he could get to that point where next year we could be like, oh, you're in a little bit shallower league. He's off your team.
Yeah.
Dynasty, there is no way that in a startup I'm drafting Gabe Davis over BTJ. In redraft, I get the argument, but I'm still not doing it. I honestly am in redraft and probably staying away from anybody not named Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, or Travis Etienne, and in the weapons. Obviously, I'm going to Lawrence. Yeah. But that's really it on that.
Yep. That's my strategy.
Yeah. Speaking of wide receivers, I am very interested in this one. I'm just going to set you up, Reggie. T. Higgins resigns. He's going to be the wide receiver 2. We know they have Jamar Chase in wide receiver 1. However, Jermaine Burton, my boy wonder, even though he went to Bama, I was not on him before the draft, but more and more looked at it right before the draft. I was on him. And then when he got drafted here, I loved the landing spot. Right, Jamie? I couldn't shut up. I couldn't shut up about it. Just like you couldn't shut up and still aren't shutting up about Roman Wilson. I couldn't shut up about Jermaine Burton. I don't blame you at all for it, but you knew that Jermaine was the guy. However, there's another guy. I will let Reggie talk about him. He's going to be in a camp battle with another guy. And the reason I want to set this up for you, Reggie, 2 reasons. 1, this was a topic I wanted to bring up. 2, last season, I grabbed 4 shares of the other guy, and now they draft Burton. So talk about who it is. Talk about what could happen in camp and what do you think will be the outcome.
Why do we do this to ourselves? I did the same thing, Mike. Like, at the end of last season, if you're out of it and you start looking at the waiver wire, and you're like, I'm finna stock up. Almost in every league, I grabbed
Exactly what I did.
Andre Ishava. I've been practicing that name for over 48 hours. Did I get
You
it?
want to know the honest? You want to know the honest truth?
I
That's why I had you. That's why I had you pronounce it because I wasn't trying.
I might not say it 3 times right, but I think I nailed it. Don't ask me to say it again. Andre Ishava. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I liked what I seen him in a little bit of like watching him. He popped out of the screen, and we all say that. And then I was picking him up everywhere because he was free. And then I seen we watched tape. Shout out to Dynasty Nerds. I don't know if we can do that, but that's how I watch all 12 for the first time this offseason. And I seen Jermaine Burton. Character issues, I don't shy away from those. That's ego, that's pride, that's confidence. Like, I start picking up Andre after the offseason in almost all of my rookie drafts. What do we hear now? Andre Ishava has been working well in OTAs. Why did I escape from my priors? Because I seen this talent. Wide receiver 3 means something for the Bengals because they are heavy pass offense. Tyler Boyd showed us that. Both of these players for Dynasty can be a win because there's somebody leaving, possibly, allegedly, next year. There's maybe a wide receiver 2 role, on top of this wide receiver 3 role that we're talking about right now. So could 2 players that's battling for a position battle this year both be wins, fellas?
Jamie, you take it because I have a soapbox.
Yeah, so I don't think that Andre
Ishava.
He's not really a slot guy. So I think he would be more suitable if Higgins does leave. Then Burton would take over the slot. I know the Bengals were excited when they drafted Burton. I wasn't excited because I was stashing another guy, Charlie Jones. I thought he was going to be the slot guy once Boyd left, and I ended up dropping Charlie Jones on every single one of my rosters now. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be so much of a wide receiver 3 battle as much as it would be as if Higgins does leave.
In the value, Ishava is holding that same value when we grabbed him, Mike, last year. He's the one. Charlie Jones, everybody's dropping. Everybody's kind of holding on to Ishava.
He's done. So
but if Higgins leaves, that Isavac's going to skyrocket.
But that's the point. That's the exact point.
Mm-hmm.
I said this to you numerous of times in text messages, Jamie. Up until he signed that dotted line, I said Higgins is not going to be on this team this year. I've been saying it for months.
Yep.
However, he is going to be on the team in 2024. I still truly believe that he's not going to be on the team in 2025. I partially believe that because of who they drafted in Jermaine Burton, because they have other needs on that team. I do think that Jermaine Burton will be the WR3 in 2024, no matter how Ishavas does in training camp. Not that he's going to do bad in training camp or whatever. Anybody can look good in training camp. I mean, I don't know how much I've followed baseball my entire life. There's plenty of guys that go to spring training and hit 340 and 5 home runs in spring training, and then they get a real job in baseball and they hit 110. Thank you, Brandon Wood from the freaking Los Angeles Angels. You suck. But the whole thing is Reggie frozen.
No.
Good. He was so still. I got scared.
Focused in.
No, you're good. I was just like, wait a second, because I'm looking right at you, and I was like, wait, something's up here. All right, so here's the thing. I think what you're saying is right, Reggie, about Ishavas. If he leaves, he's going to be the guy. But here's the thing. Because Burton is the man now, necessarily, because what Jamie said about the slot, if for some reason you have both of them on your team, the one to sell is Burton, because you're going to be able to get more value currently. As soon as you find out that he's playing in the slot and he gets slot snaps, even Ishavas does have a few, even if he does say, let's just say Ishavas has 300 yards and they put him in 4 wide receiver sets in the red zone because he's tall and he's bigger guy and he gets 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. The value that you get from Burton, and then have Ishavas come up next year and then he can maybe start on your team as like a WR3 or a flex. I like them both, but Burton, I think, has more intrinsic value now to trade in Dynasty. And in redraft, Burton's a late round pick, and each of us isn't even draftable. He's going to be a waiver wire if there's an injury.
I got a question for both of you guys. If you guys both had Burton and Polk on your rosters, 2 people that we have talked about today,
yes,
who are you trying to trade first?
That's a good question.
We will discuss that off air.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I need time for that one.
That was a good one.
All right, so my next one is this. What did I put? I just want to make sure I'm going in order. Okay. This one. Reggie is from the Bay, so this is right up Reggie's alley. A certain team in the Bay Area has the best running back in Dynasty and redraft. I am not poo-pooing on CMC whatsoever. This has nothing to do with CMC. The only thing this has to do with CMC, and I'm going to preface by saying, is anybody can get hurt in the NFL. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to, there's no foreshadowing, there's no nothing. Anyone can get hurt in the NFL. We've seen it. What is the biggest ability of a running back or any player in the NFL? It's availability. So you need, and in that offense, if it wasn't CMC, we've seen it for years, right, Jamie? If it wasn't CMC being that number one back, like the alpha of the NFL, you can just put any running back into that system and try to work them out. When Kyle Shanahan was in Atlanta, you had Freeman, and you had Tevin Coleman. The reason I remember that is because every week I started Freeman, Coleman went off, and every week I started Coleman, Freeman went off. The reason I bring this up is I really, truly think there is a true battle for the running back 2 in San Francisco. It is not Elijah Mitchell's where a lot of people think. A lot of people think that Elijah Mitchell is the RB2. Isaac Garendo, the rookie from Louisville, at some point this season is going to supplant Elijah Mitchell as the RB2. But that starts in camp. He's going to give him his run for his money. I think they're going to use Isaac Garendo in special teams. He will not end up being the RB2 out of camp, but I truly believe that Isaac Garendo has, because the burst and everything, he can cut. He's good at zone. He's good in the zone running scheme that Kyle Shanahan uses. I believe that Isaac Garendo at some point this season will be the RB2 on that team. But the thing is, let's say CMC goes down. That doesn't mean that Garendo is going to get 80% of the snaps. I think Garendo would be about 65, and they could use Elijah like they did even with CMC, where they use him as the spellback. Jamie, because Reggie looks like he's festering down there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Garendo has got that athletic ability, just like CMC, so he can get probably about like 60% of what CMC can give you, honestly. And then there's also Blake Watson, I believe, in that backfield too.
No,
right?
No. Denver.
Yep.
Never mind. There's one other. Who's the other running back then?
I'll let you know when it's my turn.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and take it? But yeah, we count out that other person, because when the starter does get hurt, we assume there's a backup, which is people are going to assume it's going to be Mitchell, but it might not be. So Reggie, go ahead.
Man, I'm glad. I thought it's Cody Schrader.
Schrader, that's it.
Yes. But I said,
Right.
if I say this name after another one of my takes, KJ Osborne, I'm not going to get an invite back. I was like, when Mike said Reggie Lee, I was like, damn, man, I got to give my take on the 49ers back to have. And it's just, he's vibrant. He does everything you want him to do. He's not extremely athletic. Elijah Mitchell, I believe this is his contract year. And I don't believe in Grindo.
Yeah,
And I think
before the NFL
Cody
draft,
Schroeder, if anybody's in the
Schrader.
comment, can
It's
you
Schrader.
Yeah, that's the one I'm grabbing because he's practically free. I
Here's
like
the problem.
$2.99.
Okay, I'm going to throw it back to you in a second, but here's my problem with Schrader. I'm going to list off the depth chart currently in camp from our lads. McCaffrey number 1, Elijah number 2, Garendo number 3, Patrick Taylor Jr. number 4, Jordan Mason number 5, and then Cody Schrader.
I think it's just because he's a rookie.
No, I'm not. I completely agree with you. But all I'm saying is he has to jump where Garendo needs to jump one guy because of the draft value. Schrader's got to jump 4 guys to even get to where Garendo's at.
Yeah, I was interested in Schrader. I remember in the mock drafts before the NFL draft, I thought he was going to be like an early 4th round, late. I think I took him in the late 3rd round in one draft just because I believe in his talent. So he could surprise people.
It's the Niners. We remember the Trey Sermons. We remember the Mosters. Like they that scheme has a way to making players. I like Mason. I like Mitchell, but I'm in love with Cody.
All right. So speaking of having a bunch of guys and having a bunch of thoroughbreds in the stable, there's a team from Southern California. You know I'm going to keep saying it, Reggie. So it's just how I am. The San Diego Chargers. They drafted Ladd McConkey. I'm assuming that's who you meant as number 1, Jamie.
Oh yeah.
So Ladd McConkey is going to be the number 1 target. I think we can all agree. Maybe not a whole bunch of targets because it's the Chargers. The whole problem, Jamie, is in camp they need to figure something out, and that is the pecking order. So you let me know what you think about the wide receivers in LA land.
Yeah, so I mean, behind McConkey, he's obviously going to be the number 1 target, playing out of the slot. But then there's Palmer, there's Quentin Johnson, and way down there's DJ Chark joining the team. So if you look at the ADP, it suggests that Palmer is going to be the number 2. I believe he's going around 9th round. QJ's going in the 14th. Chark's going in the 18th. I don't think Palmer is necessarily going to be locked in and loaded as the number 2 because they did draft QJ really early. They knew he was going to be developmental. They threw him in too early because they needed to. Now that he actually has a year under his belt, I think he could hopefully take a step forward. He could be a great value in the 14th round of drafts. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not taking Palmer in the 9th round. That's way too early. I would rather take Chark in the 18th just for those 1 or 2 big games he might have. So what do you guys think about that? Could QJ actually learn how to catch the ball and earn some more targets, or is it going to be Palmer?
Reggie, you take this because
I'm in the startup
Jamie already
right
knows
now.
where I'm going.
I've grabbed some Shark. I'm in the process of dropping Shark. I've had a lot of equity in Palmer from previous years in Dynasty, so I haven't been grabbing them in startups. I would love to grab some shares of Quentin Johnson. He was a 1st round pick, but he just went in the 12th round in a 2 QB startup. And Palmer is still active. We're in the 20th round now. It went in the 15th. I'm not willing to grab Quentin Johnson over Chase Brown, Dawson Shucks, Cortland Sutton, but I want some. I just can't buy into it. People think that this is going to be a run-first team, and it probably will be, but that defense cannot stop Park Place or Boardwalk. It's pass go. So I think they're going to be put in passing situations and playing catch up and possibly garbage time because I don't believe in that defense in that division. So throw Priors out. Throw Jim Harbaugh hasn't been in the NFL in how many years? They are going to running the ball, but what is that called when depending on where you at in the game? And I don't know, I can't think about it right now, but um not play style, but position in the game. How many you're down by, and do you have to give up on?
Yeah.
Yeah, give up on the run. I'm sorry, I completely for that. You know what I'm trying to say? I just can't get it together. So I like some McConkey. I got him in rookie drafts early, and I've even had people say use that to your advantage because, and excuse me, the great white hope, because that creates value. Wide receiver that should do well. A hope that's inbounds. But I got so much early, I've moved off. I got some pure, already talked about Niners running backs, but I'm trying to diversify at this point, and I just can't wrap my head around the wide receivers completely for the Chargers. I want a piece, but where do I want to buy?
All right, I'm going to keep it nice, simple, and short. I'm just going to go back to what I said a year and a half ago, Jamie. Quentin Johnson stinks. I was not in on Quentin Johnson before he got drafted. I was not on Quentin Johnson after he got drafted, and he's done nothing to get me to be on Quentin Johnson. Yes, he had the draft capital, but if you have the draft capital of a guy like that, why are you spending a pick like you did on McConkey?
Yep.
Boom. I mean, if you're gonna, I mean, yeah, it's a new. The other thing is we got to remember, it's not his. It's not. It's a new regime. Yeah. They brought in. I'm not saying he's going to be a stud, but you got to factor in the only player that we have not brought up that I want to bring up. At some point, if he is a factor, it's going to be late in the season, but we can't rule out Brandon Rice. He was drafted. He could be a late, slot guy later on in the year. You got Darius Davis, who's going to be mainly used in. I think Darius Davis is going to be a perfect guy for the new kickoff rules, but he can also be used as a 9-route guy, a deep guy. I'm not high on Palmer. I did like Palmer, but he didn't do enough to show. The guy that I thought was going to be the guy last year, I thought Guyton could have showed something, but he's no longer on the team. He's in Vegas, probably not even going to make the roster. So, to say the least, I'm out on this team.
Like Rice in the red zone. Good call.
So, let's do... All right. So Reggie, Reggie, you are up. We are almost at the hour mark already. So I'm going to throw it to you. Bills wide receivers.
Yeah, Bills wide receivers. It's a departure of Diggs. We've been spoiled for so many years, and they have produced a wide receiver one. It's a new show in town. Papa got a brand new band. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. The battle is between Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir. I think you're going to get Curtis Samuel in startups late. I've been in startups. Redraft is coming soon, and I want all the Samuel I can get. Market, book it the freak down. Curtis Samuel, career year. You watch the Giants program, and the coach, the DC, want to pick the groceries. The OC in Buffalo picked the groceries, got somebody over that he wanted, and they paid him a lot of money. Wide receiver one in Buffalo is Curtis Samuels.
Jamie.
Wide receiver one, you're saying, huh? That's interesting. I could see it going either way, but I would put my money on Shakir, honestly, especially if you get return yards. I believe he plays the punt returner also. But so target-wise, I'm going to say Kincaid is going to have more targets over them, but for receiver-wise, if I had to draft, I wouldn't mind either of them, but yeah, I'm gonna say Shakir over Samuel.
All right, I'm gonna keep this simple. Make sure you're watching the screen because this is gonna show how I feel. You guys will understand how I feel. I got a vote for Curtis Samuel. I got a vote for Khalil Shakir. We know who Jeff's vote is. Okay, Jeff's vote is for Keon Coleman. I will say that I am not a Keon Coleman fan. I know Jamie's not necessarily a Keon Coleman fan. So even though the network is a Keon Coleman, I think we can attest that we are now saying that the Fantasy Cheat Sheet is not a Keon Coleman show.
Yeah.
So that we can attest, and that is something we can pride ourselves on starting right now. This is how I'm going to do my pick. You guys will know my pick in 3, 2, 1. Jamie, you've been eliminated. You were eliminated off the island. All right, so my vote is for. Okay, do I think Shakir's going to have a role? Absolutely. 3 years, $30 million for paying for Curtis Samuel. I think that he is going to carve out. I think Shakir is going to be the early favorite for Josh Allen. I think that throughout the year, I think Curtis is going to bite into it. Like you said, Joe Brady was his OC in Carolina. I do think that Joe Brady has learned his lesson after going to LSU and whatever they did. Here's the other thing. They ran the ball, and when you think of 3-4%, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in plays, that's a whole bunch in the NFL. They ran the ball like 5% more a game when Joe Brady took over for Ken Dorsey, who is now the offensive coordinator for that other team in Cleveland, I think. Yeah, that team. So I do agree with you that I do think it's going to be Curtis Samuel. But Jamie, you're 100% right. No one's going to attest to the fact that Kincaid is going to be the number one target.
Yeah. We were talking about wide receivers.
Yeah.
He'll lead in targets. I think
For sure.
Shakur might even lead in yards. Oh, well, over Samuels. Samuels will have catches, yards per catch, rush attempts. He can be schemed in that offense.
All right.
The one thing I'm thinking, though, real quick, is Shakur's the only receiver on that team that has caught a target from Allen.
Yes, I get that. But like I said, that's what camp is for.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you would have asked me as recently as 11:58 p.m. last night, I would have said there's no way I talk about a certain team on this show because I don't like talking about a certain team. But the more and more I looked at it, I have to talk about this team. And it irks me that I have to talk about this team. And it's not even the Raiders. It's just because every other TV I got home a little bit early from work today. I turned on ESPN2 and it was on NFL Live, and they led with this team. Why do you lead with the freaking Cowboys in the middle of July when nothing's going on just because it's the Cowboys? But what position am I talking about? I'm bringing up the old man, Zeke Elliott, Rico Dowdle. Here's why. The debate is people think that Jerry Jones runs the show. He does. However, people also are under the impression that Zeke is going to walk in and be the number one, even though the number one in Dallas isn't going to be a workhorse. It's going to be more like 65-35 or however you want to call it. My camp battle is can Rico Dowdle win this from Zeke in camp? I think he could, but I don't think he will. But I think later in the year, he'll start eating to the number and it'll switch to 65-35 Dowdle by the end of the season. Jamie, am I wrong?
No, I can see that happening. I mean, Zeke's getting older. He's up there, so he's going to wear down. So if they use him a lot in the beginning of the season, then I guess I can see that switch happening. And Rico Dowdle, I mean, he's a good satellite back too. So he can catch the ball. I think he could definitely get 60% and give old man Zeke 40.
Reggie.
I think there'll be pressure from up top. Like Zeke is homegrown. He's going to sell tickets. I think Zeke, if he can stay healthy, can not only supply a base of the running game, but will end up getting the goal line work. As gross as it may sound, both will have values in both forms of fantasy, possibly. Unless they bring a guy in like Khalil Herbert or another running back we might talk about in a little while.
Okay.
I mean, they have a few. They got Snoop Connor, who, I mean, he's not the best, but Royce Freeman. I know people were excited about him years ago. And then isn't there another smaller guy? What's that guy's name?
They got Deuce Vaughn, but he's
Deuce
like
Vaughn, yeah.
he's shorter than your son,
Yeah.
and your son's like 11 years old. All right,
Oh,
so
man.
it is time for the cheat of the week, but before that, Jamie needs to earn his pennies that we pay him. I mean, no money, but he needs to earn his keep. Jamie, take it away.
Right here.
Today's show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their industry-leading best ball leagues with huge tournaments, private leagues, and pick'ems for every major sport. Sign up using our promo code GF2. Get your deposit match up to $100. Capital G, capital F, capital 2. And if you join a best ball league from now until the end of August, there's probably a 50% chance you're in the league with Jamie. So if you want to join Jamie, just go ahead and you might end up being in a league with Jamie. So let's get straight into the cheat of the week. We will keep these a little bit shorter. But, Jamie, there is an interesting tight end battle that could occur. And we haven't talked about tight ends yet. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so in the Colts, you got Kyle Granson. He was the tight end last year, but Jelani Woods is the much better, more athletic tight end. So he didn't play all last year. I think that's why people are overlooking him. But if you look at his previous year, he did have some big games. Like he put up a couple top 5. I think another top 12. So you saw he does have that top 12 potential, and he will give you top 5 upside weeks. And speaking of underdog, I just drafted Jelani Woods as my 3rd tight end in the 18th round. So he's completely free. He's going to earn a starting job. The coach mentioned that he was looking very impressive. And what else did he say? He said he's going to be a big mismatch for defenses, that people are going to have to game plan for him. So that tells me right there that he has a good shot of taking back his job that he lost last year because he didn't play. Yeah.
All right. So this is what I have to say about it. I'm going to keep it short, and then we'll move on to Reggie's cheat of the week after that.
I got a quick thing about Jelani Woods.
No, but what I'm saying is you can take it and then run right into yours.
Yep.
I totally didn't even think about this as a battle until you brought it up with me, because I was like, no, it's Jelani Woods. But then I forgot about Granson and Jelani, blah, blah, blah. But here's what I think is actually going to happen more that I thought about, and it's one of the reasons when you asked me, I told you to throw it on there. I think they're going to use both of them. And the reason I say that is they drafted Donnie Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. I honestly think with AR-15 being healthy, which he better be healthy because I'm literally in the middle of writing an article about him right now. Thanks to you, Jamie. And having Jonathan Taylor back. I think they can run 2 tight end sets more than we're accustomed to. Leave Josh Downs out of the mix. Have A.D. Mitchell and Pittman as the wide receivers. Run 2 tight end sets. I think they'll both have run, but I do agree that overall Jelani will be the one. But I do think Granson will get more run in 2 wide. I think they can run 2 tight end sets more, and then they can see what happens after that. Reggie, why don't you give us your take on this real quick, and then roll right into yours.
Real quick, there's Mallory, Woods, Mo Alley Cox, and I think Granson and Woods are lesser blockers. But Woods is the forgotten man. Great call, Jamie. Look at, I don't know if his RAS score or his athletic rating of Jelani Woods is one of the best ever. He's the
Time out. Reggie,
What'd
I do?
You brought up the RAS score.
Yeah. It's the 11th of all time.
No, Jamie's name on no, you didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
Jamie's name on Twitter is Mr. Athletic Profile, because all he cares about is the damn RAS. So if you have a good RAS and a and a bad fantasy portfolio, he's still drafting you.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank
For
you.
tight ends, the athletic ones.
Yep.
Hit. That's what you want. Good call, Jamie. I'm going to move in right into the next one. Ooh, my heart dropped. I was like, I'm dropping all these names. I'm in trouble. So we're going to roll into our cheat of the week. And it is, what is Denver for 1,000, Alex? We can talk about every position, but we're going to keep it to the running backs, okay? And my bold take is Javonte won't be on this team come start of the season. He'll be traded to possibly Dallas. How wild is that? But there's a battle for RB1 here, even if he doesn't get traded. They did not pick up his fifth-year option, so he's out to prove something. And I think he's talented, maybe outstayed his welcome. There's McLaughlin. There's Blake Watson, like Jamie mentioned, and he can tell you how exciting he is. I think he's from Kentucky. But the battle is to be had. There's an RB1 position, and Samaje Perine is still on the roster. What you guys think? Oh crap!
So I'm gonna bring one thing up real quick, and then I'll throw it to Jamie. Blake Watson is from Memphis.
Oh, good call.
But the one thing I want to bring up real quick, Jamie can talk about him, but I just want to bring up his profile real quick. Started at wide receiver at Memphis. Do you know the other two players that are in the league right now that started at wide receiver at Memphis and then moved to running back their senior year or their last year at Memphis?
Gibson.
And?
Oh, the guy that got cut from the Raiders.
No. Tony Pollard and Antonio Gibson, who are both in the league, starters, twos, whatever you want to call it. So I agree about Watson. I'll let Jamie get more into him.
Did Lynn Bowden go to Memphis? Lynn Bowden?
No, he went to he was Kentucky.
Okay.
He was
Go ahead, Jamie.
No, my point, the only thing I want to say is I hate you right now. Because I have been pounding the drum for years, even into college, about Javonte Williams. And I blame this on Sean Payton. The reason I don't blame this on Javonte is he came off the injury. He needed the time to get going. And Sean Payton, I don't truly gave him a fair shake. Problem is, it's not his running back. It's a different regime that brought him in, so it don't matter. He likes his running backs, and if he don't like you and he likes running backs, there is something to be said. They brought in Blake Watson, like you said. They got McLaughlin, who he does like. Not super efficient, but he does like him. And then they also brought in Edric Estime, who was a guy from Notre Dame who I wasn't very big on. But the problem is he's similar to Javonte, which scares the living daylights out of me. McLaughlin's a little bit different, but Audric is almost the same running back. Jamie,
yeah,
I know what you're about to say.
McLaughlin and Watson kind of profile similar, right?
Yep.
And then you got Estime and Javonte Williams. I don't know. I'm staying away from all of them this year in best ball redraft. I don't want any of those guys. But next year, I could see Estime and Blake Watson being that tandem, just like Javonte Williams and McLaughlin will probably be this year.
I got thanks for going for two. I posted in an amazing Discord before rookie season. Should I trade my third round pick? I think it was 304 for McLaughlin. And they was like, dude, what are you going to get better? And I smashed it. And that's all I'm getting shares of. But I got him for a third, and I'm crossing my fingers. All
right, let me go back to this. All right, so tonight's show was a good show. We talked about a lot of camps. We're going to be having some stuff coming up. It's almost the season. So we're going to get into previews. The guys and me are talking about that later. So just to let everyone know, we'll see you in a couple weeks. And then sooner than later, we're going to start going every week, get ready for the season and jump into that.